everyone, it's Sigga here. I'm going to be creating a mini album today, and this is based on the kit volume 11 where they use warm wishes collection, but I'm going to be using the Cafe Parisian for this one. So it's the same idea really, and I use many of the instructions in that kit, but just a different collection, and of course then a different vibe to the whole album. I absolutely love the colors in this collection, and those little cakes, I mean, they just look too yummy. And of course I plan on using these beautiful photo corners. And I have already cut every single piece of paper. Now for the cover, I actually cut it 3 3/4 and 4 3/4, and then I cut out this beautiful cake. Plus I'll be using the metal dies. And I firstly cut some of the images from the pattern papers as well. I inked all the edges of my papers using the pink ink from Graphic 45. And well, for the inside covers, I used the same measurements as for the front cover. And I'm inking the corners. And I will be doing the waterfall on the inside cover. I am just doing the backing first because I am not the best at keeping my waterfalls straight. So this is a fail-safe for me. And for the pages, I just made sure that I had a bit of a frame of sorts, really. So I cut the pages to 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And I'm just using strong adhesive to stick these beauties down. And as you can see, I'm just leaving a border on each and every corner because I do like showing that beautiful ivory album surrounding that pattern paper. It just makes it pop even more. And in order to make sure this is straight-ish, I usually turn the album so that I have a bit more control of what I am doing, and then I am more sure that I'm not having any of my pattern papers looking crooked. If that happens, it happens. This is handmade, so I'm not too worried about it, but just don't want it to be too earthquakey kind of a thing, I guess. And I'm just starting off by sticking all those larger pieces to the first section of the album. Now the album has like 4 sections of pages, or page sections, I guess. So I do 2 of them the same way and then the other 2 another way. And this is the first version of one of the sections that I'm doing right now. And there was no rhyme or reason for the papers that I chose. I just picked papers that I really liked. And since this is one collection, I know things will go together no matter what. So kind of leaves the guesswork out for the crafter, or worryless, I guess. And now that I've adhered all the larger ones, I'll be doing the pocket sections now. And I had already cut these out before, and for the pockets they are 3 1/4 and 1 1/4 for the bottom section. And like I said, no rhyme or reason. I'm just seeing if things look nice. If I don't have anything that looks good with the one that I have, I'll just cut another one. No biggie at all. And I will have pattern paper at the back. So I had cut way more than I needed. So I'll be cutting those down because the pockets are already adhered to the page, so I don't want to have them falling apart or ripping off or anything like that. So I decided, when it comes to the backing of this pocket page, I cut that one at the same width as everything else, but the height is shorter, so I cut it about just below 3 inches. I guess you could say I used 2 7/8 ish. I wasn't too precise about it. Just, if it looked great, I did that. As you can see, I first started off with 3 inches, so it was too high, so I went just a wee bit below 3, and that worked just beautifully. And did that to both of them, yeah. And then inked all the edges as well. And when I am actually sticking this section to the page, I just hold down the pocket section and make sure that my pattern paper is sitting right on top. So you still get that white border all around. And I do the same thing to the back side of that page. And then all I do is see if the tag looks all right in the pocket, and it does. And I'll repeat that to the next one. Now, before going any further, I will be decorating the cover. And for the spine, I just picked a chipboard piece that I liked and placed that in the middle, just below that frame. And then afterwards, I will be putting pattern paper inside that frame so that I can just add a name or a date or anything I want later on within that frame. And just sticking these ones that I already cut and inked to the back of the album. I mean, look at that pattern paper. It is just so delish. Oh my goodness. Love every single colour in this. So pretty. And I'm just making sure that I have a bit of a white frame around. And then the same paper for the cover. And again, I'm just making sure that I have a white frame of sort going all the way around. And I'll be using that fussy or image that I fussy cut from one of the pattern papers on the front. And since I'll be adding those corners, the decorative ones, I need to make sure that I have space. And in order for that to actually be possible, I will be using foam adhesive for the cake itself. So there will be a bit of a room, I guess, around those corners. And this seems to be working fine, so I'll just start by adding foam adhesive to the back of my cake or piece of pattern paper. I really like using a bit of dimension on the cover because this is a small album and I want to decorate it, but I don't want to be too bulky. And plus I'll be adding flowers to the cover as well later on. So this looks good, so I am just peeling off the backing and placing my centerpiece or that little pretty cake on the cover. Looks good to me. And then I'll do the same with a smaller cut, a fussy cut with the background. Adding foam tape to that as well, because I'll be adding those corners as well to the back side of the album. So now I'll be decorating the second section of the album, and I'll be using the flap section that is also shown in the volume 11 kit instructions. I guess I've simplified it a wee bit, But for the front, I'm just adding a pattern paper, and I am actually doing this because my idea with this is that you'd have plenty of space to add photographs, and if they are smaller than the pattern paper, you will have a beautiful frame in each and every one. Now I've cut this the same size as everything else. I just scored at 1/2 inch, and I'm only putting adhesive on that 1/2 inch flap. So that way you have an extra space to add photos or journaling. And then the pocket pages are done the same way as I did before. Put one strip of paper on the bottom, and then the one above the pocket itself is cut down to just below 3 inches. So it looks like it's coming out of the pocket, but it's not going all the way in. And then I'll be adding a tag to that pocket later on as well. And then this is the pocket on the back side. Like I say, same method as I used before. And these papers make everything look so beautiful and cohesive because it's all in the same collection. Gorgeous colours. And the cakes just add to the yumminess of it all. And then on the opposite page of that one, I'll do another one with a flap where I scored 1/2 inch on the top and only put adhesive on that 1/2 inch flap. So you have extra space for photos or whatnot. And then the backing as well, just the pattern paper flat will be great as a photo mat, or just pretty paper, whatever one prefers really. And then I have all these pages done. And I'll do the same thing for this section as I did before. And that takes me to the waterfall section on the inside cover. Now this waterfall, like I mentioned, me and waterfalls, we just don't get along most of the time, so I'm doing the fail-safe way. Now the backing of the waterfall I had already cut, and it is cut in 3 1/4 by 8 1/2, and I scored it at 4 1/2. Then I cut the flaps that I'm actually putting on the inside on 3 1/4 and 3 1/4, and I scored them at 2 3/4. And I'm just placing them next to each other so they are flush to one another, and that way I'm hoping they'll be as straight as possible. But if they are not completely straight, something is off, I have a way to fix that. Like I said, me and waterfalls, we keep messing stuff up. So when I have actually stuck everything together, I close it and I'll see if anything is out of place, as you see here. So all I have to do is cut that little section off. So I just put that in my trimmer, make sure everything is straight, and cut those little thingy bits off. And I just re-ink them so that they look cohesive and nobody will know. No one. So this is the way I save my bacon. And then I adhere it to the cover, and I use liquid adhesive for this section. That is just because liquid adhesive gives me a bit more wiggle room, so if I mess things up, it won't be as catastrophic as if it were with a tape roller or a strong adhesive. So there we go. There you have it in its place, and you have a pretty waterfall for all your pictures. And I want to add a bit something at the bottom, a wee bit, I guess heavy but not too heavy. And so I thought I would use these little, I guess you call these bookmarks, I guess the one that says patisserie, and I'm using that on the bottom. both as decoration and as to add a bit of heaviness to the bottom, I guess. And I just take it out, and then I make sure to sand off those tiny little bits, and then I will be inking the edges with the same ink as I've used throughout, and then liquid adhesive, and put this in place. Again, gives you a wee bit of wiggle room if you have, or if you do something that you shouldn't do. And that's it, the waterfall is ready. I'm just burnishing so that it will have an easier way of actually looking flat, but of course it will look flat when you start using it really. And that's the album finished, and I have already adhered the corners. I just used strong liquid adhesive, added some pearls to the cover, and of course flowers. And I added bits and pieces of die cuts or fussy cuts or chipboard pieces as decorations. For the tags in the book, I die cut pattern paper from the collection on the front, kept the back clear because I want to be able to write stuff on the back, and use those pretty ribbons on top. So there's plenty of space for photos and journaling if you want to write something down, or just gazillion amount of photos, which is always a nice thing. And then I put the white glitter washi tape between every section, because, well, it is sparkly and it looks so pretty when you flip through, and it's a nice touch as well. And like I say, I added some chipboard pieces here and there, and some fussy cut images here and there, just to make this a wee bit more interesting. But I really wanted to keep the album simple, so it is a photo friendly album, and well, basically a very good thing for a non-crafter. And that's the album done. And have a few close-ups if you want to have a look. And I hope you're able to see that you can use any kind of kit tutorial from Graphic 45 and use whatever you have on hand. If a kit is orientated towards Christmas, you can make it anything by using a whole other collection. That's the fun of it. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.